All right, let's go to Billy Embody, our friend from On3, who's covering recruiting. It's been an enormous recruiting weekends for LSU football that's kind of been flying under the radar with basketball and baseball action over the last couple of days, but it looks like another influx of heavy recruits into Baton Rouge this weekend and what's going to be a very cold weekend in South Louisiana, but it looks like a who's who of recruiting world in college football is going to be here. Here to help us out is our friend Billy Embody, who's freshly married. Bill, congratulations on the nuptials, and of course at On3 at a new spot where they're covering recruiting as good as anyone. Check them out at on3.com to read all the stuff. Bill, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jordy. We're not married yet. May 21st,
okay.
so
the picture I saw a picture of what looked like a beach wedding.
That's his engagement.
No, it's the engagement. Yeah.
Get with it, Jordy.
Much more nerve-wracking.
Look at the old guy.
Yeah.
Next, I'll ask you about the weather.
You got some time to change your mind if you want.
I'll put it in the public, Bill, because you definitely outkicked your coverage.
Yes.
That's very, very true. Very true.
Congratulations to the both of you, bud. Billy, catch me up on recruiting right now because everybody's paying attention to basketball, Will Wade, LSU baseball, what's going on with the Tigers on the baseball field. But recruiting in football is in fifth gear right now as well, as they've had a ton of recruits on campus last weekend, and it looks like another healthy amount is going to land in Baton Rouge this weekend. What's the latest?
Yeah, massive weekend last weekend for LSU. They did have a lot of their top targets to kind of kick off this month of recruiting. The dead period ended March 1st, and that really, like you said, kicked it right into fifth gear quickly for LSU, and they are having an even bigger weekend this weekend, just from a pure numbers standpoint and talent, in my opinion. And last weekend was very impressive from the standpoint of who they had on campus with regards to them being top targets and kicking that off and trying to get the momentum building to get those guys back for official visits this weekend with the 7-on-7 tournament in New Orleans, the Battle 7-on-7 tournament. There's going to be a ton of prospects on campus. There's a few guys that are coming in not as 7-on-7 guys. 4-star tight end Mac Markaway. He went to DeSmit where Robert Steeples was the coach. He's a top target for LSU, so he'll get his first opportunity to visit campus. Jaylen Brown, a 4-star wide receiver out of Gulliver Prep, is a top target out of Miami for them that they're trying to get into things moving with. Caleb Jackson, right out of Baton Rouge, he added an Alabama offer last weekend. He'll be on campus on Friday. Derek Williams, one of the state's best prospects overall, he told me he's planning to be at LSU on Friday. And then Aaron Williams, 4-star cornerback out of California, will be on campus as well. Those guys were already planning to be there, and now we're seeing just this massive influx of guys who are taking visits to LSU around this 7-on-7 tournament. The thing with it is once their pool play begins, they can't actually be on campus, so you'll see a ton of guys visit Friday before the things get underway, and then Sunday after the tournament concludes for them, however they finish up, then they get the green light and they could go over to LSU. A couple big names, Ryan Wingo, a 2024 prospect out of St. Louis. He's a top 5 overall prospect next cycle, so he'll be a huge target for Robert Steeples recruiting him. And then also Yonel Aguero, the number 3 safety in the class of 2023. He was here last weekend, a part of that big group of targets, and he's back with his fast 7-on-7 teammates as well. They're going to have Desmond Ricks, the number 1 cornerback in the class of 2024, on campus this weekend at some point. I mean, it is just a long list of targets that are coming to LSU, including 2024 defensive back Wardell Mack. He's John Ehret standout that just added an offer as well. So, and not to mention Tyler Steen, the Vanderbilt offensive tackle transfer, is on campus right now for his official visit. So a huge early start of the weekend for LSU. They'll have a break on Saturday pretty much, and then they'll be right back at it on Sunday. Derek
Williams, the 4-star safety out of Westgate, he is a top prospect for top target, I know, for the LSU defensive staff. Where do things sit with him right now?
Yeah, I think with him, he's somebody that you've got to think is going to be an Alabama-LSU battle. I know LSU is doing its best to continue to build relationships and build up things on that front. But it's going to be a battle. I mean, that's just, how I see it right now. He's going to go visit other programs as well. But for me, I do think he's an Alabama-LSU battle. And I think LSU sits in a good spot. So does Alabama. But he didn't visit anywhere last weekend. He was somebody that you thought might have been able to come over, but he's doing that on Friday to check out LSU. So he's going to take his time with it. He plays basketball. He does a lot of things. So I don't think he's going to make a decision anytime soon, but LSU is going to try to have him on campus as much as they possibly can.
But a very positive sign with Yonel Aguero coming back in back-to-back weekends, right? I know he's coming back with a 7-on-17 this weekend, but making the stop in Baton Rouge in 2 consecutive weeks as the type of prospect he is has to be a good sign for the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian Kelly went to his high school, so they do have that bond right there. And I know he's a personal top target for Brian Kelly himself.
Nice.
They built a strong relationship when he was at Notre Dame, and of course Kerry Cooks is kind of picking up where he left off. Talking with him, they'll have another chance to impress him and just spend more time around the staff. Georgia, Texas A&M are 2 schools that I think are going to be right in there for him as well. The Bulldogs have had him on campus multiple times, and most people you talk with kind of see him as somebody that everyone else is chasing Georgia at this point. But I do think LSU has made a move, at least to put them right in the mix with those schools for Yonel Aguero. And I mean, he is really, really impressive. Just one of the best safeties in the country, and could probably play right away at LSU.
Billy Embody, who covers recruiting for On3, check it out online at on3.com is where you can find them. Bill, one thing that it seems like has been pretty evident over the past couple of weekends, whether it's reading social media, talking to some of the prospects or some of the guys around LSU, is that this coaching staff is pretty lethal together as a whole recruiting.
Yeah, I think they complement each other very well. Brian Kelly's not going to be somebody that, touts, and I don't mean this in a bad way. There's plenty of different ways to skin a cat, but a power hour on a Sunday is not going to win you recruiting battles. It's the overall process that puts it all together and gets it done. And, he just kind of moves in silence. He allows his staff to do what they do best, and that is build relationships and be very strong in terms of pitching what they want these guys to know. I mean, you look at somebody like Matt House, who at Kentucky did everything from, find sleepers to be in, the thick of big recruiting battles. He's also surrounded by guys like Robert Steeples, a young and up and coming coach, Kerry Cooks, who's done it, so many different places at a high level. Jamar Kane is very lethal on the recruiting trail. We know what he's capable of. Offensive side of the ball, again, kind of a mix of veterans, guys that know the state, just a really, really stand-up staff that knows what they're doing. And I think it starts with the organization at the top, with Brian Kelly and what he wants out of his staff. And that's why you're seeing a very, very high quality group of prospects hitting campus early on. And I think it'll continue through official visits, and we'll see how they end up in this 2023 class. What
do you make of Jayden Daniels signing with LSU this week?
I think it's a good move. I think there's a lot of debate about what, why they would go do that after Miles Brennan, came back. And I just think he's played a lot of football. We've seen him be able to play at a really high level. We've also seen the lows. And I think with the talent that LSU does have at receiver, he's going to have an opportunity to come in, compete, and potentially win the job and do well. I just think that's the kind of the long and short of it. They had an opportunity to fill a roster spot and get better at a position overall. And I think that's why they decided to bring in Jayden Daniels. Jamar Kane was there for a year, I believe, when Jayden Daniels was at Arizona State. So he probably had some insight into kind of his demeanor and what was going on. But, I think a fresh start for Jayden Daniels was certainly necessary. And LSU was a good fit for him. And now they can just let the quarterback competition play out. I mean, if you're Garrett Nussmeier and Walker Howard, you've got plenty of years ahead of you. If you're Miles Brennan, now you're maybe getting a kick in the rear to turn it up even more than you have. And Jayden Daniels and him are really probably the favorites to win that job, and whoever comes out with it is probably going to be a pretty good quarterback for LSU.
Bill, they had the quarterback in from Michigan last weekend. His name is escaping me, and I know that they had a quarterback.
Dante Moore.
Yes, Dante Moore, and then they had the 2024 quarterback in this weekend, DJ Lagway, who was in this past week. Are you getting an idea of the approach on recruiting that position and who they are starting to like in next year's cycle?
Yeah, with 2024, I mean, that's one that I think we're going to really see play out over the spring and summer, because they'll get out and do more evals on that front as far as the 2024 quarterbacks and who they like. And who knows, a lot of that could depend on who they get. Right now, there are only 2 offers out. Both did come under the previous staff in 2024, but in 2023, to get Dante Moore on campus right away, that at least puts them in squarely in the running, and especially for an official visit, because he was somebody that, Notre Dame, Michigan, feeling really good about where things stand on that front. And he visited LSU last summer, really liked the program just overall. And a lot of people have kind of said, hey, if he does leave the Midwest, LSU is in as good a spot as any to be that team. And that was before Brian Kelly got hired, and they have a great relationship stemming back to Notre Dame. So I think LSU has put themselves in position to host him for an official visit. He's going to be fairly methodical with the process. I do think sometime late spring, early summer is my guess as far as when he'll want to make a decision so he could start recruiting for that class. But right now, LSU is at least most likely going to get an official visit, which would be a good opportunity to have his entire family up or down to Louisiana and get to show them more as far as what they want to share with him with the program, and they'll take their big swing and see if they can knock off Notre Dame or Michigan.
Give me one thought on the notice of allegations before I get you out to the weekend. What do you make of the latest?
I think LSU stood behind Will Wade for a reason, that they feel like there's probably not much in there that they have to worry about. I mean, that's kind of what I've heard from people around the program is LSU has stood behind Will Wade, especially for that reason. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with it. I mean, I think Will said it in his post-game press conference. No one's here from that time as far as the players go. So I really hope if something happens as far as, punishment, I hope that the guys that are here now don't have to, go through anything because of whatever was said or happened that the NCAA has found. But just my personal opinion is LSU's been holding their feet to the fire for a long time to deliver the evidence that something happened. And I just am not sure that it's there.
Billy Embody covers LSU recruiting on 3 Sports. You can follow On3 Sports on Twitter at On3 Sports, and follow Billy at Billy Embody. Have a great weekend, man. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jordy. Thanks for having me.
Always. There's Billy checking in this morning.